care stay, also known as the NICU. Overnight, a family can find themselves and their newborn baby in a critical situation. The Mila Foundation financially and spiritually assists families in need. If you would like to volunteer or become a monthly sponsor, please visit us at www.themilafoundation.org. Again, that's www.themilafoundation.org, because every life matters.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on the Cindy Cochran Show. And, of course, with Richard Schischler standing by, ready to inject whatever he wants to, whatever comes to his brain quickly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Tourette's, because you never know what's going to come out of his mouth and what he's going to say about me. And usually it's not the truth, so we have to sometimes tell you, he's just kidding. He's really just playing. He's not telling the truth. But sometimes he's right. Sometimes he's certainly right. And he certainly has the right to say whatever he wants to about me, because I'll take it. It's okay. Because I know the truth. And you don't. Or he makes up the truth. Just like, you know what? You're just like reporters in Washington.
Yeah, I'm a big headline writer. It's my creative mental workout. How to I love all that kind of stuff, because it has gotten to the point where you're trying to talk to somebody. If you're not talking to them in person, it's kind of like I'll take everything with a grain of salt. I'm like, whatever. Like when I read a headline or if I'm getting an email or whatever, I'm like, my favorite is social media, because social media is like the poison of the world. Because
imagine if giving the freedom to the person down in the basement that's, has got this computer, and I've got the freedom. I can say anything I want to. I can
not even that.
Call anybody whatever I want to.
I think my favorite ones are the outright lies about stupid stuff. So, like, my favorite one that happened probably a month ago, there was a big, it wasn't even like a scam. It was people would these Facebook pages and Instagram pages would make posts about sports athletes donating their income to some charity and then taking it back or something like that. And it wasn't real. Like, it was just like they would pick they just pick random athletes, and they'd be like, "Oh, Jose Altuve was supposed to donate, $26 million, but he ended up only donating $5 million, that kind of thing."
Well, they say the different people have died. It was in a car wreck
and I'm
2 hours ago.
And what's weird to me, I was like, is this like AI making this up? Because why would anyone waste their time? Like, what's the point of wasting your time?
Oh, my goodness, if... I could probably introduce you to 10 people.
Well, I can understand being nefarious when you're lying about, politics or whatever.
Right.
But it's like, what do you gain from making this up about a baseball player? Like, what do we get?
Because they think it's funny, and then they'll think
it is funny,
all the people
but,
that believe it.
The worst was, I think it was this on Tuesday, this dude lost his mom to like a car wreck. He was a pitcher, I think, for the Diamondbacks, and some butthead in the stands said something about his mom. And so he starts crying and all this kind of stuff on the mound, and like I think he had to like leave. And then his wife or a friend of the team posted like on social like screenshots of direct messages they've been getting about how much they want that person to die and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, like, I can understand one fan being just a total jerk,
right?
But like over 100 messages,
but they don't have any other life.
That's got to be automated. If I like some guy who really hates them hired some Russian people and be like, "Yo, dude, can you message this lady 4,000 times?" About how much you hate her husband.
Okay, but you know what? You can't imagine not having any life because you're so busy, and you're busy here, and then you're busy at the bowling alley. You're busy. Your parents want you to do things for them
Every day.
and so you're never without, a bunch of time just to think about what could I do that would just ruin somebody's life, because my life is ruined.
I've thought about it.
You have. Never make Richard mad at you because you don't know what he might do.
Well, see, I think, or personally, my main philosophy when it comes to stirring up trouble
Yes.
is I choose not to stir up trouble with people I don't want to have in my life. Because it's one thing to like get back or revenge or something, but then it's like if I do this, it's still going to involve these people, and I don't really like these people. So I don't want to talk to them in 5 years. I don't want to talk to them tomorrow.
Right.
So why would I choose to do that?
True.
Now, and that's usually why I never really do nefarious things, because like,
Well, when answering the phone, I have found, everybody in my family said,
I wouldn't answer the phone anymore.
unless I know who it is, and I see their picture up, that I know who it is, and I know the phone number. See, and that's why back in the day, I knew everybody's phone number. I mean, I knew
Yeah.
it by heart, and I knew when it came up who was calling me. But you don't right now. You don't. And now that the computers are so, you can do anything with the computer, and you can put another number.
And
in
ironically,
there.
you don't do anything with it.
Me?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all.
And you know what? I remember whenever we were going to edit. You wanted me to edit a show. I went out and shot stuff, and he said, "Well, you can go out and shoot it, but you're going to have to come back and edit it." And I went, "I edited for 20 years over at Time Warner," and I got there, and I go like, "Okay, what button do you push
Oh no,
for this?"
Yeah, especially with the studio, since I do everything, I've limited myself. I tell people now, like, absolutely not. I refuse to do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you were real.
oh yeah, my favorite is I even do it to my dad, and he's like, "You're being a real jerk," and I'm like, "No, I told you right before we started this, I'm not going to do this," and I do that to every one of our shows. I'm like, "I'm not going to do this,"
I know.
and I don't care who you are. Oh, you helped me become life. Don't care. If Jesus Christ came in, he's like, "I need you to." Nope, that's my philosophy. I'm not editing anything. You're supposed to edit it, and we've discussed that beforehand. Well, it's not like I just make it up on the fly.
I don't want any bad stuff to happen to you. So
no, it's more of when I do those things, they take so much time, and I know how much time it takes. And the benefit of it is you'll just come back to me again and ask me again and again and again. And I'm like, nope, I'm not starting this.
No, you're exactly right. And Chad knows the same thing. Chad said he'll start trying to tell me, and it just moves me away. And he goes, "Here, I'll do it. Just forget, I'll do it."
Well, the worst thing I ever did recently, to give you an idea, is I started I grew up mulching the yard, right? And so for some reason, people mulch their yard every year. There's probably a good reason for it.
But isn't that fertilizer?
Yeah, I mean it is.
It
but
stinks so bad.
Yeah, but what's happening is my dad's still on that routine.
Oh.
Where he'll go get mulch, not tell anybody, and he'll call me and be like, "Hey, I need you to come get this mulch out of the car."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You need to come get them."
He had it in his car.
Oh yeah, and then
it stinks up your car.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, the yard guy that I had, he said to me, he says, "We need to do mulch." I said, "You have to do mulch." You have to do. No, he's saying. But it sounds like saying much. And I said, "Do you want to do much more or what?" I don't understand. He goes, so he takes it. He has his phone and he does it like, "Okay, now you'll understand."
Yeah.
But I said, "Okay, well, whatever you need to do. Okay, all right, that's fine." And so I went back in the house, and the next morning when I walked out there, I about gagged. It was so strong.
Yeah, it's good mulch. It's good mulch.
And I thought, is it going to be this way like forever? Or and it finally went away. But the next time he told me, I said, no mulch. I don't care. Trees do fine by themselves. I don't know why you have to spend so much time with them. So
I mean, I'm sure there's a benefit, and I'm sure but it's just funny to me because, like, it's not like my parents are gardeners. And that's what kind of gets me on it. I'm like, doing this every year? Like,
Well, coming from 5 acres into this little, I mean, it's nothing. The yard is nothing because they have mostly rocks and stuff in every place, and so it's absolutely, but it's ridiculous because the grass in that place grows like crazy, and I mean, you mow it one week, and in 2 days it looks like it never was mowed, and so I don't know what they do to it. I don't know what's going on, but I don't have that guy anymore. I mean, we're doing it
I don't know.
ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that kind of, it's funny to me, like with my growing up in my family, is my dad always had this philosophy of like, you got to be working.
Yeah.
You got to be doing something. So we did all the yard work, and we had 4 brothers. I had 3 brothers. There's 4 dudes just doing all the yard work. And
Mm-hmm.
the only thing he wouldn't let us do is electrical stuff. And ironically, my brother took the electrical journeyman test just so my dad would allow him to work on it, because this is when he got
The
older.
journeyman, yeah, for
Because he was like, because my dad would, we're one of those families like, we'll figure it out.
But that's scary though. Anytime you deal with
And ironically,
electricity.
that brother got electrocuted.
No, he did.
Yeah, that's the one who got electrocuted. But he knows how to do a lot of like around the house. It's really good.
But you know, when you
I mean,
when
that's
you get
well,
shocked
that's
into-
my joke with him. I was like, you really overcame your fear to like to control this electricity, didn't you?
well,
And-
now when somebody gets electrocuted, is it just the degree or how long they're getting electrocuted? That
I mean, from what I understand, is it's all about the exit, because the electricity has to go somewhere if it's a high voltage. So, in his case, he was inside of a scaffolding, and he was moving it from inside. And when he made contact with the power line, it blew him back, but he kept hitting it because he was just basically in a cage, just going like
in the cage, and
yeah.
he kept,
So he had I think he had 6 blowouts, meaning like it exited his body in 6 different areas. And then my brother got him out because he knew how he put. I forgot what my other brother did. He wrapped his arms in something that wouldn't conduct the electricity and dragged him out.
But if you've got, I've always thought if you have tennis shoes on, that's your conduit or not your conduit.
Well, I think it just
but it's-
depends on how strong the current is.
Yeah, it's like the power line thing, and if the power line
Because
goes,
it has to connect to something. It has to go through you.
and if the power line goes and lands in your pool, and somebody's in there, you can't. It's it could be deadly if they fall in the water, because
Because it can't go anywhere. It's just going to sit there and go around your body,
golly,
fry from inside.
fry from that's perfect.
But what I was trying to say is, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but like I mow the yard. I know how to mow yards, and I do like that's just kind of like what you do. Mm-hmm. But then now my brothers and sisters have their kids, and they don't do anything. Because like I remember I remember now I'm getting to the age where my sister, I go over and help her do stuff, like fix her pipe, like her plumbing or whatever. And I'm like, don't you have like a 15-year-old son? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, he can do this. Like this is easy. And she's like, well, he didn't really know how to do it. I'm like, I'll show him how to do it. Like I don't mind that. I'll show him how to mow the yard.
Well, Chad is. I got no. He went and bought the mower.
Yeah.
I was going to buy it, but he bought the mower. I just said, I just want the one that you press the handle and it
Self-propelled.
takes off.
Yeah.
And so he did, and then he went out and mowed it. And I went, why don't you take Samuel and Cindy? And Cindy wants to know how to do it. And so he said, because it was just faster. It took me too.
Yeah.
And that's what's bad. I think a lot of times, dads will be the same way. They go like, it's just faster for me to do it than have to try and teach somebody.
Yeah, well, with my nephew, it is kind of it's a different age, because there's certain things like I was doing. I forgot exactly what I was fixing, a gate, and there was a lot of electrical stuff, and I was sitting there going like, I can just do this. You don't have to, like, you just need to get out of the way, because I don't want to deal with you and deal with that.
That's what, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Grandma or mom, just get out of the way. And that's all I hear. And it works. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
They just say, I'll do this. I'll do this. It takes you too long to do things, It's just everybody's so nervous and
Around you?
anxiety ridden
Around you?
me. I think.
Yeah.
Can you understand that?
Oh, I feel sorry for the people on 45. They have to be surrounded by you while you're driving, and I'd be like, yo,
No,
yo.
no. I've always said 45 is a great, religious thing, because if you don't have religion before you drive on 45,
That's because you're on. People like you are driving on it.
no, sometimes I can't say I hate when we had the policeman on and we were doing the whodunit thing,
Yeah.
and I'd have to admit, or I'd tell a story like, okay, what if somebody is driving and they're texting at the same time, and you don't know why aren't they holding the wheel? But a woman knows how to drive with her knees, and so she can make that turn. And
You're making so many excuses for yourself.
no, I bet everyone out there said yes, because we have kids that we had in the back seat, and you turn around and you have to beat the kids in the back seat, like stop that, and open the hamburger up for it and give them the hamburger. And there's so many things that a woman does, and put makeup on at the same time. They're
Well,
so multitasking.
My favorite was my mom. I mean, I don't know how many times throughout the years, she always has the same accident. It's like always the right side of the front bumper, when she hits somebody. And it's always the right side. And I always wondered, after like the fourth time, I was like, I wonder what she's really doing when she does that. Like, is she hitting one of those light poles in the in the parking lot or something? And I was like, it's always this side.
I bet that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you even thought about trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because if it's the same accident, the same place.
Well, there's certain people, like I remember when my grandmother, she couldn't drive anymore. And that was like a hard transition for her because she always drove to church. She always went to church.
Right.
So we had to figure out like a service. Someone would pick her up and take her. So like when I lived down there, I would go and pick her up and take her. And then we had like a rotation. And then after about 2 years of that, she finally just goes, like, she forgot like caring about driving.
She can't what? What'd you say?
Well, because she used to like, I can drive. I'm still good. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Well, my mother at 90-something took her car, and they had told me she only had a few months to live. They kept telling me
everyone
that.
always tells you that. And you know what I'm convinced of? It's any day.
Yeah. So
it's like all right, if we're just gonna live like it could happen today. So
she wants to drive, and she knows she can drive, and so we let her go. And so she went to church, and she couldn't find her way back from church. That was the only problem.
Yeah. See, that's my biggest fear especially for my parents and some people in my life. I'm like, I just don't want you to encounter the world. Because there's so many things you don't comprehend.
That's right.
And then the world could come pretty fast at you. And like you need somebody there to support you. Like I remember this girl, I was with somebody for a long time, and they got in an accident, and the guy who hit her was like in a dump truck. And I knew exactly where it was, and the accidents always happen there because people don't pay attention because there's no turn lane. So if you turn on your blinker and it's a sudden slowdown, the person behind you, there's like a chance. Well, if they're just not paying attention, they're going to hit them. So she saw the person coming in really fast, so she tried to pull out of the way, and it clipped her. And, of course, I get the phone call 30, 45 minutes after it happens, and like, he left, he didn't. I'm like, did you get a picture of the license plate? Did you get exchange any information? No, he was just yelling at me the whole time. And I was like,
thing,
yeah. And I'm sitting there going like, well, I have no sympathy for you.
No, Richard.
And she's like, well, why would you say
that?
She
probably didn't know if he was going to.
I was like, first off, it's 45 minutes after the accident, and now you're calling me.
Yeah.
And then if some man approaches you while you're in an accident, the first thing you do is dial 911.
Yes.
And if they're yelling at you and stuff, just call 911 and say you're in an accident and I need a police
Hold
officer.
the phone up to him.
And that way he goes away.
Yeah.
You know? And that was so funny. And then what I love is the expectation of me problem solving it. I'm like, let me pull up my spy camera. Let me do my investigation work and get the thing for you. And I'm sitting there like,
I'm gonna ping that right now, and let me get your location.
That's why that's one of my great fears for certain people. It's like you're gonna encounter the world, and you're gonna be able not to handle it the right way.
I know, Richard. One day I don't show up.
I can't wait till I get into that mode.
What? So you get in that mode?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's gonna happen.
You'll never admit it. You know that.
Well, that's the beauty of it.
That's guys never admit that stuff.
Even girls don't admit it.
Well,
Like that particular instance I gave you, she never admitted that she did it wrong,
Oh,
and it was my fault. And I'm like, I love it because I don't mind being blamed for anything. I'm like, if that's how you make yourself feel better, go for it.
do it.
And
do it.
you know,
That's well. It's
what I love about that accident is we were working on getting our merging our insurance together, and when I got the quote after that accident, I was like, God dang.
What was your name again?
Yeah, I was like, I told her at the time, I was like, we're not merging, and
No.
she's like, why? It's like, because my premium will go up 400%, and yours is gonna go up, like it's gonna cost us almost $1,000 a month to have you on my coverage. Like I don't.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I gotta get a second job just so you could be on my insurance.
Just for insurance alone. Yeah.
Well, then again, that's something too. Like I always encourage folks to drive a car they feel safe in,
Right.
because like that particular person, I always felt like the car they had she had to have booster seats, and I'm like, that's not safe, because what happens?
Oh right. Oh
You know,
yeah.
like that's not good.
So what would you have?
I was like, I
Said
would
she
have
should've
I
had.
probably should have had a Mini Cooper.
A
You know?
Mini Cooper.
Yeah, or something like that.
That's really safe.
Well, I meant more of at least you feel you're in control of the vehicle.
Well, yeah, but you're so. I mean, it's so.
Because that's why I bought my truck, because I was gonna get a bigger truck,
Yeah,
but those new trucks are too big,
they are.
and I'm like,
They
I was like,
are.
I don't like this, like, because I drove my dad's truck for a month because
Oh,
he
okay.
had the truck I wanted,
Uh-huh.
and I drove it for a month because he let me borrow it, and I was sitting there going like, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
No, yours is perfect. Yours is.
Oh, it's absolutely,
really-
it's a work of art.
Yeah.
It's
Except the thigh.
when people talk about soulmates, it's meant to be.
That's your soulmate.
No, I'm saying, they talk about soulmates, like the universe needed this to happen.
Well.
But
Yeah.
I even tell my mom that, because my mom never really cared about cars. She's always, in her life, she always got hand-me-downs,
Yeah.
and so she didn't really
That's what I
care.
got,
And then
yeah.
I'm like, why is it always the right side you hit? Why is it what's going on with the right side of your eye? What's going on there? And
Oh, you were trying to. Oh, you're still trying to find out why she always had the right
side,
bumper.
always the right bumper.
That's really weird. When I was driving, I had the worst habit, and somebody pointed this out.
Oh,
Finally.
is it texting while driving with your knees?
No, this was
Because that sounds like a bad habit, Cindy.
no, this was whenever you're in a lane, and you turn and look at the other lane,
And you
but you're
drift.
turning your wheel
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the lane already. And they said, you're gonna get killed. You see what you're doing? And I went, oh yeah, I never thought about that. So, but see, that was before you had deet that comes
Oh,
on
yeah.
because here comes a car, or you're going over the line or whatever. That thing, as soon as you can find out how to get rid of that, that just drives me.
Well, certain ones
crazy.
you can't get rid of.
You can't.
No, because mine has that collision warning when people like take a ride into a shopping mall or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a good, I don't know, 50 or not 50, more like 20 yards, and it'll start going off. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna hit this person. Like I clearly see this person. I just don't immediately brake because I know they're turning, so I can just not lose my momentum.
Oh, so
And it starts braking itself, and I'm like, I gotta turn this. I gotta figure out how to.
you don't. I didn't know that
No.
it did that, but that is scary because I hit the brake, but it's already doing it and it's throwing me forward.
Oh yeah, it's great. I
And-
love it. I was like, okay, that woke me up.
Okay, I got you.
Well, my favorite with my truck, I was trying to figure out if I could mod the entertainment system, because it had this cool graphic when you start the car, and it has all this cool little things. And I was like, I wonder if I could do like a custom logo, and it would be like, "Welcome, Dick," like that kind of thing. I was like, I really wish I could. I'm gonna figure this out. So I went online. I probably looked it up for about 2 hours, and then one guy was like, "Oh, just by the way, if you do this, your entire warranty is voided, like the whole car."
Oh, because you've
Yeah, you
you've
messed with you messed with
transgressed that what
electrical
they
system,
had
yeah.
already.
And I was like,
Manufacturers, yeah, you can't do that. Ooh, but that would be really cool. You could make well.
I
You
thought
still
it'd
could
be-
have the audio come on. The audio could.
No, you can't change any of the entertainments because it's all tied together. The whole system
They come out with speakers.
because the new cars are all tied together with that entertainment system.
Yeah. Okay. That's sad because that would have been really a good idea.
Oh, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
I wanted to say a curse word. So when people get in the car, like, up yours, dick. And they'd be like, oh. We were like, what's that? I'm like, oh, don't worry, that's my car. We have a friendly relationship. It'd be a good gag.
I could see you finding an AI pal and somebody that you can talk to. I think Chad has one.
I tried. When people talk about that Chat GPT, I still don't like.
You don't.
Not for me.
Like it. Well, it's Chad said. You really need to investigate it because it's really good because you can get questions that would be interesting. When you find out who a guest is going to be, then you can, with that history, you can find out all kinds of stuff.
It doesn't work for me.
Them.
I looked myself up, and it jumbled all the Richards together, and I was like, I really hope people don't look me up because I have an interesting. It has an interesting interpretation of who I am.
Huh. I guess whenever I put in there Cindy Cochran and why I don't hear anything come back is because they're signing to me or something. Like what if they think I'm deaf?
You have to hit it on the head when you do Chat GPT. So you wouldn't look up Cindy Cochran.
What would you do?
You would look up signing with Cindy.
Signing with Cindy.
Because there's only one signing with Cindy.
Oh, right. There's a bunch of Cindy Cochrans.
So it's kind of like you have to know exactly what to ask it to get feasible information from it.
Oh, brother. Well, if it's that sensitive, forget about it. But I love that they have these books now that you can give it some history of the person, and then that you can write. They will write the book for you.
Yeah.
And then you can give it to them as a present. That's awesome.
That's weird.
I mean, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't have to. That way, you don't have to write a full book. Man, how many pages is in a full book?
Who reads anymore, though? In a full book, 70 pages?
What's in a full book? How many pages?
When's the last time you read a book? No, I mean, it just depends. If it's like a fiction book, those go up to like 700 pages.
Oh.
But if it's a nonfiction book, I would say, I don't know, 300 to
like
500?
Cartoon. Okay.
Like even graphic novels are at least like 90 pages. Like a novel.
I'm thinking of is scripts. Script is about 70 pages for
70 to 120. I think 120 is kind of like the max you want.
Yeah, that you can hand in, and even an idea. Because to me, if I have to write, and I was trying to get a script done, and it was taking so long to do it because you had to put all the mechanical. The stuff, the technology, and
the fluff.
What you're gonna do, and it was so ridiculous. So I could only get I got about 50. I got 50 pages, and it was such a good idea. It's such a good idea, and I stole part of it from a guy that came in and wanted to do a movie with this idea, but I thought it's a good idea, but this could be better. It could be a whole lot better, and so. I asked him, how long are you going to keep the copyright for this? And he goes, I don't have a copyright for it. I went, really? Okay. So one of the ideas he had is what I wanted to work off of and do it. And it was fun. Have you ever written a script?
No, but I've read them.
Oh, okay. That's exactly the same thing. No. So, but you haven't got an idea for a movie or play or anything?
Yeah, I did have a good idea, I thought, and it might already be a movie, but it's about there was this Japanese pilot, and I want to say it was Pearl Harbor, but his plane was damaged, and he was trying to get out of there, and he crash landed on like a remote island somewhere, and it was part of the United States, but the island itself, inhabitants were not. It was like a tribe. And basically, when he crash landed, it's like a true story.
Yeah.
So, like, when he crash landed, he didn't tell them anything. And then basically I forgot what happened at the end, because I think at one point, there was an American on the island who's doing, volunteer work or something like that, kind of like a missionary.
How did he find?
And so because the island was pretty big, so there was different tribes. And that was like I think that's what ended up happening was the American found out it was a Japanese pilot, because no one at that time, the news traveled so slow. So imagine if you're a missionary on a remote island, how are you supposed to know what's going on in the world?
No, you wouldn't. Yeah,
and
you're
so
right.
I think it went over several months where like this Japanese guy lived with them and didn't tell them. It's like, oh yeah, we attacked your nation and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, that'd be a cool suspenseful movie, you know? And it's like the language barriers there, and you have the conflict, and then like, are they gonna find out if it's, you know? I forgot what ended up happening with that, but I'm gonna look it up.
It's interesting because it's like, imagine being the Japanese bomber that's come to Pearl Harbor, and you're in that mess. You're in that they're bombing and all that stuff. And what if you lost your memory and you can't remember why you're there, who you are, and all that, and you're rescued, and then they find out you were one of the ones.
Oh yeah, so it's called the Niihau incident. So it's Niihau. It happened on December 7th through.
So that was Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, it was Pearl Harbor, and basically the Imperial Japanese Navy told everybody, "Hey, if you're damaged, crash on this island. It's uninhabited." And it wasn't. It was native Hawaiians lived on there, and they were unaware of the Pearl Harbor attack, treated them as a guest, and then yeah.
So they never knew. They never knew who they were. I mean, the bombers knew who they were, but the people, the Hawaiians, didn't know that they were the ones that were bombing Pearl Harbor. Right?
It was actually, so this is kind of cool. I remember reading, like learning about this. This is like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So he, on the island, there was a resident who was Japanese, so he knew Japanese. And so they had an interpreter. And then the Hawaiians learned of the attack later. And so they apprehended the pilot. They allowed him to stay with the Japanese house, the guy who knew Japanese. And then when the Japanese guy on the island learned, they agreed to help him escape. And yeah, they overcame the guards. Yeah,
Because
they destroyed
family.
They escaped to destroy the plane and the papers, and then they took him. They called him Ben, and oh god, this is kind of cool. And then they committed suicide. Dang, that's pretty hardcore.
Goodness. Mine was my
That's a
idea
good movie
was-
right there.
Yeah, that is. Now, okay, I have 2 minutes to try and
Okay.
tell this. Okay, so mine it was called No Match Found. And so it starts out in a Catholic church, and there's a guy that's,
Nothing good starts. In
No,
the Catholic
wait,
Church. Nothing
wait.
good.
and there's a big cross with Jesus hanging on the cross. And so, and you see the janitor coming in, and he is mopping, and sweeping the floor and stuff. And as he's mopping the stage, there's these blood drops that drop
From the cross.
on the floor, and he keeps mopping, and it keeps dropping on there. And he looks up, and it's coming from the statue. So he calls the priest, gets the priest out there, and tells him. And the priest says, "Oh, okay, stop doing what you're doing." And he goes and calls his scientist brother, and his scientist brother comes in and collects the blood, and then goes back to see what's going on. This is like a miracle. And so he goes back and he says, "We can't find any match. There's no match found." And that's the way
why
it
would
starts.
Why would they have a match?
No match, no comparison.
And it
found.
turns out Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the movie,
No.
and
No.
and the blood is actually of an alien,
No.
right?
No.
I'm getting there.
No,
and he's coming
it
through
is-
interdimensional, but he's hurt, and he's trying to come into our world.
No. It's no.
And
No.
No,
And so
You didn't like that? I
the
like-
blood. So anyway, the blood is what it's about, trying to find the match to this, and it can't. And that the blood came from this.
well, see, it's even better. What you should
The-
have is the janitor's like, "What is this? I keep cleaning it," and then finally, being a janitor, he's like, "What is it?" And he puts his hand on it and tastes it, and then all inadvertently, if it was the blood of Christ, he's immortal.
Yeah.
And then he didn't know that.
Right.
And then now he has to live forever.
But
And he'd be
But
like, "Man, I'm
this
never
is-
tasting that again."
this is what's, and so the scientist, his brother, the scientist, his assistant her name is Marguerite, and so her name's actually Mary.
Okay.
And so what they do is they take this blood, and they're going to try and inseminate her with the blood cells and all that, and get her pregnant.
Oh yeah. So it's going to be the Antichrist.
So no, it's going to. They want to see if they can bring Christ back, and so
That's real desperate. Because I can actually see a church doing that. It's like, we want to be right so bad, we're gonna take control and try to bring Jesus back.
Well, so
Can you imagine that working? And then Jesus is like, up in heaven, and all of a sudden he gets sucked, and then they're like, now he's a baby.
But the Jewish people find out about this. There's someone that has told the Jewish,
words get around.
and so they're going to come after, because they don't want this to happen.
Oh, well, they have this secret decree, if no one knew, they have to kill Jesus whenever he comes back.
So they're trying to stop it, and so it ends up Mary and her brother, her husband now, Joseph, is they travel to some island or something, trying to get away from them wanting to kill the baby.
Yeah.
And so
it's always a baby. Everyone always wants to kill babies.
And especially Jesus. They had to all that happen. But so anyway, the point is that they get out there, and it ends with a cry, and then it's the baby cries, so the baby's there, and then you don't know. So the sequel is that you find out that
it wasn't Jesus; it was his brother.
No, there's no sequel, but that's what this guy was. Most of it was about a war, and so I took
maybe that's
the
what's
war
going
out of
on between the Palestinians and
Iranian,
Israel,
and they're
maybe
Persians.
Maybe that's what's really going on. They're like, Israel's like, no, they really have the baby Jesus.
It's going to be anyway. It was fun. I love writing stuff like that. It's so much fun because you really get into it and you're there.
Because I always thought it'd be entertaining if somehow a miracle happened with the baby, and involved in that baby's life is like every representative of a religion, and so everyone's trying to claim like, oh, that's the new Jesus, oh, that's the new whatever, and then finally it's like, well, we'll let him decide, and he's like, well, I'm gonna be Jeff.
Yeah, but don't you see why God chose the time He chose to put Jesus on earth? Because
it's boredom, from what I understand.
Because
it's just boredom, right?
No, and there was conflict, but He knew there was going to be conflict. But it was the easiest way to get people. He spoke a message to them that they were all excited about, and they wanted to see this happen. But it was so many, the church leaders at that time were against him because they said he's just blasphemous. He's telling people he's a son of God. And
That's
all
usually
that.
what happens.
So, but if it was now, imagine what that would. It would be horrible. It'd be horrible. It'd be horrible for him because.
Well, you probably read Facebook, and then there'll be so much AI, anti-Jesus stuff, and then I would enjoy it. I think.
You think that would be fun?
Oh yeah, and all he wants to do is go fish.
Fish.
That's.
It's funny because they have you never saw The Chosen. Did you see?
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it.
I know the story.
Well, but I know how it ends.
Yeah. Well, supposedly.
They have.
We gotta go, Cindy. We gotta go. I got shows. I got shows after this.
Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay. First responders, thank you so much. We love you. We admire you.
You'll be back next week.
And I'll be back next
Wootton
week.
Financial Group, thank you for supporting Lone Star Community Radio and the show. It's sponsored. Shout out to them, and we're gonna have a word from them here in a second. So stick around for that.
And listen to Chris Wootton.
All right, bye.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process of helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran Show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
This program is sponsored by the Wootton Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootton Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootton Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootton Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootton Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootton Financial Group, or any of their representatives.